Madam Clerk, any public comments?
Therefore, we do have one public comment that was submitted. It actually was submitted through Councilman Blunt, who forwarded it to me. And I'll read that at this time.
Okay.
Mr. Blunt, this is Mrs. Randazzo, not Mr. Randazzo. I have done everything in my power to get anybody to look at logic where this is concerned. No one will address the anxiety it's causing people by not pausing while people are sheltered in place. It sounds like a series of earthquakes 5 or 6 days a week. I invite you to ask the senior citizens at the end of Lee Street how bad it is. Why this neighborhood has to endure this noise while we are in a world crisis is beyond my understanding of having citizens in mind. It's not with us in mind. I also can't get anyone to address the financial situation and the fact that it makes no sense to continue this project. And we can't even walk down the street without having the police called. The construction guy apparently thinks it's illegal to walk on a public sidewalk. So we officially give up. We will be moving as soon as possible as we possibly can. I want to live where the nuisance ordinance applies to the municipality too, not just the citizens. I appreciate the reply, sir, and I would consider it a sign of respect to me if you would read this statement for me at the next meeting. I would have done it myself, but the last 2 meetings were canceled and no online comment cards were put up as we were told by Ms. Holliday. My concerns are valid, and you have to excuse me because she skipped over some. Okay, my concerns are valid, and I would like to see them entered into the minutes. Good luck to you in the future. Thank you for replying, Sonny Randazzo.
Okay.
There are no further comments.
Okay, well noted, and we'll follow up on that as soon as we can. Okay, on that note, please.
Madam Clerk, I'm going to see if this works. It does. Can everyone see?
Okay, got it. Outstanding.
And everyone can hear?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. We're just going to go through a brief update on where we are on the amphitheater. Of course, for those of you that have gone by, you can see that there's a lot of work going on. As a matter of fact, we should be actually going vertical this week. So this is just going to be a brief synopsis of kind of where we are. If at any point on any page that I go to, if you want to ask some questions, then just let me know and interrupt and I will provide an answer. Of course, here's your management team. I act as the overall project manager with Charles Abbott, TSW, H.J. Russell, and Falcon Design. Those are the folks we meet every Wednesday, and we're actually overseeing the project every day. In terms of what this presentation is going to present to you, just some general information. If we've talked about safety, whether or not we're compliant with COVID-19 in terms of guidelines as it relates to construction, the inclement weather days, site layout and activity and schedules, the site progress as of April the 22nd, 2020, and some area photos for you to look at. In terms of, can you guys see this, or do I need to make it a little bit bigger?
I can see it, fine.
You good? Okay. As you know, the amphitheater is actually a two-phase project. Phase one, which deals with the building site, it deals with a part of the parking in the back, and it also deals with the green room, concession stands, and restrooms. Phase two deals with the actual parking, the passive park, and other amenities that go into phase two. Phase one is 9.6 acres. Phase two is approximately 7. During the month of January, we removed a lot of trees. We installed erosion control measures. We did a lot of fencing. We had to do some additional trench digging because we had a lot of water. It felt like Noah's flood, but we had a lot of water, so we had to come back and to mitigate some of the water runoff. We did demolitions of existing structures that was on site, the old baseball dugouts, any wooden structures we removed, And also, we've been dealing with the geotechnical services every day. So we go out and we do as many borings as we can to determine the soil composition, whether or not it's suitable soils or unsuitable soils, so that we can take the appropriate steps to move forward. Finally, excuse me.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes, Ms. Moore, if you could make that just a little bit larger, maybe for the viewing
Okay.
public, if possible.
Is that better? And I can just scroll down some. Is that good? Or larger? Is that better?
Yes,
That
yes,
should
that's
be
fine.
fine.
That's fine. Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Finally, just want to update Mayor and Council on our exploration of whether or not there are any burial sites on the particular development site. We have finished the analysis on phase 1. We actually hired a mapping company, and believe it or not, we got us a national acclaimed archaeologist who actually are coming out to assist us in case we need to remove anything that we find. On phase 1, there's a determination that there were no burial sites. What they did discover was a landfill. Apparently, from when this city hall was built, they used that portion of the site as a landfill. So again, on phase 1 of the site, no burial, no bodies, no anything was found, only a construction site. We will be finishing up our investigation on phase 2, which is the property which sits where the 7 acres that we purchased. We should be finishing that up within the next 10 days to make a determination there. Any questions so far? If not, I will go on to safety. Since December, we've had no incidents. Construction is required to follow a set of guidelines as it relates to COVID-19. We are in compliance. We actually had a safety audit performed on April 7th. And the next one is the week of May, and of course, we did extremely well. That's great. In terms of daily oversight, myself, Thomas, Lisa, Michaela, Angie, and Chief Wells, someone is on the site every day. The other part of it is this: we deal with reports, the geological, the technical reports that come in. And so every day we're out there making some determinations of whether or not the site and the development is in compliance with our codes. We have our weekly meetings every Wednesday, which is anywhere from 3 to 4 hours. As you know, we had a lot of rain last month, and here's the inclement weather report. What does this mean? It means that for a certain number of rain days, H.J. Russell will be able to get those days back on the backside. So for the month of January, we had a total of 11 rain days. We had allowable for the month of 7, and there was a total loss of 4. For the month of February, we had a total inclement weather incurred 22. We had allowed for that month 7 and a net loss of 15 days. March, we had a total number of rain days of 13. What was allotted was 7, and then total loss was 16. And so that is a total of 46 rain days, 25 that were allotted. We should have the numbers for April within the next 7 days for the next report. Here's a map of the layout of the site, just to give everyone some idea of what the site looks like in terms of topography, the areas in which we're actually performing some work. Of course, the green, little green, there's H.J. Russell's site. Omega mapping, we wanted to show the public, these are the areas in red. It's where we have been exploring whether or not there's any potential burial sites. The area of orange is actually where we have construction teams and there's actually work being done. And then the areas completed are actually those boxes in green. And I just do that for a couple of minutes and then I'll move on. Where are we as of April the 22nd? Here's the weather impact days that relates to grading and drying, how many days we could get out there. The lower parking lot curb, there's a video that I will be posting on the website that H.J. Russell provided to us of the latest video. And it will show you where the lower parking lot is. That is actually going toward Love Street. Some of you may have been able to see it if you've gone by. That is 85% complete. Subgrade prep for the stone to commence 425. Curb and gutter sets to commence 427 from the rear parking lot to North Lee Street. Stage and green room building foundation, believe it or not, if you go out there, the foundation is down. Approximately 50% is in place and ongoing. And of course, once we get the foundation all down, then we can really move pretty fast because we're going vertical. Wall beam footing and reseal. Footing is in place. Reseal is in place. Awaiting confirmation of wall face shift to allow framework panels to be placed. The upper pond bank has been completed and stabilized. Hydro seeding took place on 418. Plaza storm lines and structures in place and awaiting grading operations to progress in order to erect the precast structure. The City Hall water vault. For those, we turned off the water, I want to say last week for about three days so that we could go in and actually connect the water lines. Relocation of the vault and water lines was complete on 418 and water was turned back on 420. And there are Georgia Power lots and cameras right by City Hall. You may not have noticed them, but we needed to remove those poles so that the construction could move further back towards City Hall. This is a graph of the activity and schedule for March. And these are, the things that we have accomplished. The creek crossing, for those that may not be aware, there was actually a creek that runs through the property in which we had to get clearance from the state of Georgia for us to actually address to make sure that we don't disturb the creek, but we actually pulled it in as a part of our theme as it relates to the amphitheater. So we put up all the walls, we ran through the piping, we put in the piping, we did everything that we need to do to deal with that little creek crossing. We finished the roadway grading, excavation of unsuitable soils. For those that may want to know what is suitable soils and what are unsuitable soils. Whenever you do a construction project that deals with dirt, there are some types of dirt that you cannot build on because if you build on them, they will sink or they could be contaminated. Those are called unsuitable soils. And so you can only build a structure on suitable soils. So in areas where we found unsuitable soils, of course, we had to remove it and then we have to replace it with suitable soils. The primary pond, we're moving ahead. For the public, we started out thinking that we would only have one pond, but due to the topography of the land and the way to make sure that the water sloped and we complied with how waters flow and as it goes into our water system, we had to end up going from one pond to 3 ponds. But I think at the end of the day, it's very pleasant looking because it creates a passive park for us. Building pads are on grade and concrete building pads work to begin. The sanitary boring is going on. Piedmont Engineering is a geotech firm. And of course, as we move along, they do the borings for us to make sure that we don't have any difficulties with any of the soil. We've been paying them for monthly. We just finished up Pay App 3. And these are the equipment on site. So as you go by, you will see larger equipment. And so we have 3 dozers, 3 tractors, 3 excavators, 1 off-road truck, 1 forklift, 1 sheet foot compactor, and 1 smooth compactor. So those are the equipments out there for the public if you ride by. And these are the area photos. I started with the most recent so that everybody could see, and I'll start with the top 2. This is the area of the site from the month of March. And as you see looking down, it really does look great. Image 2 is the hand wall structure and storm pipes at the primary pond under installation. So you can see how big you see the ladder. So it really lets you know how big those pipes are. I mean, really, you can walk through those pipes. They're really that big. The next shot is our trash pile from the unsuitable soil at the lower parking area. Image 4 is excavation of unsuitable soils and progress at the lower parking lot. So as you see, we have to remove all the soil that's unsuitable and replace it with suitable soil. The next 2 shots are the sanitary boring in progress at North Lee Street. 6 is the completed creek crossing with ongoing road work. So as you see, we have to protect that creek and that stream. And so that's where we're addressing that. Here is the building pad for stage and green room in progress. So now you see that is the first stage of laying the foundation for our green room and the building pad. Image 8 is primary pond completion. Those are the most recent. I think these may be the last two of the most recent. Roadway work under progress, storm pipes, materials on site, ready for installation. View of storm pipes installed at lower parking lot area. And then, of course, I thought this was great. He gave a shot of the rain and fog on the site affecting work in progress. So needless to say, that day we could not work. Those are the most recent. These are just shots from February to kind of show you some ideas of that's an area of City Hall and the construction behind. This is what's the beginning of our work at the creek crossing. This was our storm base installed before placing pipes. That's how the movement of the dirt and site prep to get everything ready. This is the additional drain ditches and check dams. This is what we had to do to make sure that we actually mitigated any additional erosions that may occur from the site. And of course, this is just what it looked like on a lot of muddy days. We got a lot of rain. We thought these were funny. This is just how much rain. This is a gauge of how much rain we actually got in February. It was quite a bit. We lost a lot of days. And then these are pictures for those who want to know whether or not the city did their due diligence in terms of checking for possible burial sites. I just threw these in so people could see what the machine looks like that actually rolls over to see whether or not it detects anything. And these are the sites and the markers that were marked for the archaeologists to come in and to see whether or not something was there. And these were the first shots at the beginning. As you can see, not a lot done. Everything was pretty much in place. We were just beginning construction, and those were early shots. And that is the end of this brief report. If there are any questions, I'm available to answer.
Well, yeah, 1 second, please, sir, if you don't mind. I appreciate the briefing, Camilla, and I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty sure everybody else is pretty excited about the progress here and how things are coming along. Can't wait till this is done. But anyway, on that note, Mayor Pro Tem Thomas, go ahead, please, sir.
Yes, great report, Mrs. Moore. I didn't count how many pages. I'd like to get a hard copy if that's available. Is it online? Maybe I could get someone to make a hard copy.
I can actually email this and make sure that a hard copy is in your box for you to pick up. I can do both.
I appreciate that. Can you speak to the directive as far as the consensus for the house on East Atlanta Road? I know you put something out, getting council opinion. So what's the final decision on that?
Right, you gave a final decision of actually tearing it down. And so therefore we are in the process, once we complete our investigation of a possible burial site, which is in that same vicinity, then we're gonna move forward with demolishing the existing house. We've talked to TSW, we're in the process of actually drawing the renderings for the new ticket office and where that new facility will sit. It will actually sit at the internal street at the corner as you exit out going on East Atlanta Street. So that information is being provided and I will provide that. I talked to the city manager. One of the things that we wanted to do as it relates to that, Mr. Thomas, Mayor Pro Tem Thomas, and other things, is to have a couple additional meetings. There are some files and some information that staff would just like to go over with you concerning ideas about that particular structure, what it should look like, and other things as it relates to the pavers. You also agreed for us to move forward with the selling of pavers and those little things. We would like to just sit down and spend some time with a longer discussion and going into details about some of the other things that pertains to the development of this project as we move forward in the next couple of months.
Thank you. And I will reserve one other question, the financial aspect, but I'll hold that question and maybe you can provide me with some information on financing of that particular building. But I don't care for you to respond on that right now. I'll give the other council members opportunity to ask some questions.
Outstanding. Anybody else comments or questions for Ms. Moore?
Yeah, Mayor.
Go right ahead, sir.
Ms. Moore, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, sir, I can.
I had spoke to you and Mr. Knight and previously about, and it's not on any of your pictures, but could you just speak briefly to what's going to about the beautiful? I mean, we can call it beautification, but the asset of aesthetics and the look that we're going to be putting in the community right behind the amphitheater. That we're not going to just build this amphitheater and leave that community high and dry, that we actually have some stuff put in place to help beautify that area back there.
That's correct. The landscaping plan for this entire site, because we're actually doing widenings on both Lee and East Atlanta, calls for a landscaping plan. So there will be landscaping as citizens and residents go down Love Street as well as East Atlanta. There will be landscaping on both sides all the way down those roads. So those streets will really be beautiful. In addition to the change of lighting, lighting on both of those streets will be consistent with what we have around City Hall. So the way Lee Street looks today it will get a total makeover. Yeah. And then East Atlanta will get a total makeover. And both of those streets will be beautiful to accent what we have on ground as relates to the amphitheater itself.
Thank you.
Councilman, if I may, Mayor, as
Go
well,
right ahead,
to Councilman Blunt's point, as Ms. Moore mentioned, having the gateway into the amphitheater off of Lee Street in particular is very key to this project as people enter into that area, but also, of course, for the people who, more importantly, live there on a regular basis. And then also having a significant buffering along the backside of the amphitheater project adjacent to the residential homes. The other thing that was alluded to earlier is that this amphitheater, although it will be an entertainment venue, the design of the ponds and the associated landscaping around the amphitheater project itself will create an amenity. It will be aesthetically pleasing, even when there are not concerts or stage plays happening there at the amphitheater location. I think people will gravitate to this site just to enjoy the scenery, the landscaping, and the very relaxing vibe that will be established in and around the amphitheater property itself. And so in addition to the amphitheater itself and everything that brings, obviously this site will enhance our recreational and passive park areas in the city of Stockbridge.
Right, so what we did, we added, as you know, we have one wet pond and two dry ponds as is perceived. So the wet pond is actually going to be a passive park. Just like the city manager said, it will be a park in itself, right adjacent to City Hall for people to come and enjoy. And I know there were some questions some time back about us having a very nice passive park somewhere in the area. And so this particular location will be our passive park. And we're working on finalizing the design for it, but the initial ones, it's really going to be a beautiful park.
Any other question for Ms. Moore at all?
Yes.
Go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, Ms. Moore, thank you so much for that presentation. It caught us up. Will you kind of expand upon that a little bit and let our citizens know about the road improvement project that is somewhat attached to this, which is the East Atlanta? We'll be adding correcting the bottleneck there with a turn lane.
Right, I was going to try to do, see if I could find an aerial in here that could actually pick that up. Yes, because of the number of citizens that will participate in the amphitheater, GDOT wanted to make sure that egress, as you get in and out of the amphitheater, that we built improved the road system such that traffic in and out would not be impeded, nor what we call harm to the subdivision at the rear. So therefore on Love Street, they are requiring us to align that street. Whereas right now you've got to stop, you got a light, and it's not a straight intersection. So we have to realign that street right there at Love Street. And then we have to put in an additional lane, an additional turn lane that runs all the way back to the entry into the parking. So that way it could be, that additional lane could be an entry or an exit point. Depending on coming in, we can use that additional lane to get traffic in. And then on the way out, we can use that additional lane as a way to move traffic out. And it will be a straight through lane as well as a turn lane. And then on East Atlanta, they did require us to widen East Atlanta as well. And there will be 2 lanes that will be added to the lanes on East Atlanta to make sure that you have a lane that allows you to continue straight through the light, as well as a right turn lane that allows you to turn right on 138 North Henry. So the traffic plan as it relates to road widenings, which will mitigate traffic getting in and out, is a very good one. We think that once it is completed, even though we will have, you know, as many as 4,000 people in a place at one time, getting them in and out will be very easy based on the designs of the traffic mitigation plan that we currently have before GDOT right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, any other questions for Ms. Moore? Council?
I do, Mayor.
Go
I
right
just
into it.
need to receive a copy of the approval for the house being torn down for the record, and also the selling of the papers, so that we can put that into the record, please.
Okay, so we need,
Okay.
yes, you need a copy. You don't need a motion for that. You just need a copy is what you're talking about.
Well,
I think
it was
you guys
stated that there was a, so I would need to receive that as well.
I think it was done by email, so I will get those together for you because I think they responded by email. Mr. Knighton asked for consensus, and so I will get that documentation for you.
Great, thank you.
And they responded to both of them, and their response is email.
All right.